Hey guys, good morning. I guess it's still morning on the East Coast. We are definitely mid-morning here on the West Coast. It's been a good morning of trading. We've had one of the around the horn stocks went 50% of the distance. The profit target went 10 cents of the distance, took us back out at 50% of the distance to the profit target, so half the profit target got booked. The other one didn't trigger. Of course, the one that went halfway to the target wound up going to the target, but that's a whole other story. That's trader psychology, and you can find lots and lots of really relevant articles on that stuff right there on the Trader Insight blog. So on the article archives, you'll see lots of psychology things. I think psychology is probably the most important part of this game, and it can be a tough one. But all of that said, we've had a good morning trading the discretionary stuff. So we had trades in Tesla straight from the trading plan and also on the discretionary side. I'm going to go over just that stuff right now and give you an idea of what I'm looking at for the afternoon there. Very similar setups in all the Magnificent Seven things. So what I'm talking about on the Tesla trade, you can translate into Google for sure. Google was definitely in play today. Meta's in play. So those are pretty easy translations to make if you just take the logic and follow through with it. Let's take a look at the charts and what I'm talking about. Here you have it. This is Tesla this morning. So what you see here is a bit of a conundrum. So on the trading plan for the morning, we've got a long, and that makes it very easy to bias here, thinking that long is only relevant if the stock goes and makes the move through the bands. We prefer on a long that it makes a move from the bottom band, so below the bottom band actually at that 433.39 level, and then starts ticking higher, gets back up through the 434.56, 434.56 up to 435.69, and then up to 36.68. And while it did all that, the thing that's interesting is how it did it. So we've got the central pivot down below. You can see it on the right here. You can see the central pivot was 432.35, and that made for a really good setup in terms of, well, if it gets down below there and then ricochets, we've got some very good probabilities for a successful trade. But what happened in the interim is really the thing that was of interest in the room this morning. So you can see here we had this range on Tesla in the pre-market. And as price got into the last part of the pre-market here, you see that it made this sort of big extension move down. So I wasn't super crazy about that. I wasn't happy about it because I was planning a short sale 436.66, and actually the low of the last bar in the pre-market, it had come down another dollar down to 435.68. So the short sale entry on Tesla winds up being, we get this little hiccup above the line here, and if you had a stop limit order waiting from that pre-market trade, you got popped into the trade and you had the possibility of going all the way down to that central pivot. What actually happened was I had a bracket order on this trade, and the bracket order said that if I got short Tesla, I wanted a one-by-one bracket. And one by one means 435.68 down to 434.68, or up into a dollar up above, which would be 436.68, I guess. There would be the stop up there. Sometimes these things move so fast that you don't have time to go adjust your bracket. My plan was, if it got into the range, I would just have the lines on the screen. I could grab them and move them and get them out of the way. Tesla opened, ticked down through our profit objective so fast that there was no way to move the line. But what it did next was exactly what we're looking for. So it comes down through this lower part of the range, comes down through the central pivot, ticks higher, and gets into our bands. And once it got into those bands, we really had a solid move as the stock just started trading higher and traded all the way up through that top band at 436.68. So beautiful opportunity on Tesla for the opening trade. Really good opportunity to get into those volatility bands. So that's two trades for the morning. Then we had a trade number 3. And actually, there were 4 trades, and one of them was a loss here on this move up above the high of the range. So, as it came up through the high of the range, I had an order there that said, get me long at 438.66, get me out 439.66, and it, just about ticked me out up there, and then I got a partial and then it reversed, so it wound up being a bit of a loss, a small loss actually, but no, nothing to write home about. Some of the shares go out at a profit, some of the shares went out at a loss, pretty flat overall. But the beauty of it was that the next thing that set up was a picture-perfect infield fly setup. The infield fly is, the biggest reversal pattern, strongest reversal pattern that I have. When the tail's that long, that's a real indication that you're going to get a pretty significant move. In this case, from the low of that bar, our target was $435.68. So you see it here. You're getting short just below this low, and that's 437, probably 13, I guess, is where it drew the line. It should be a little bit lower than that. It should be down right in here, about 437. So 437 down to 435.68. That was our target. Made perfect sense, and we called it in the room, talked about it in the room, worked out very well, and then we were off to the races for the rest of the day. So now you're at 4 trades for the session. So actually 4 trades for me is pretty heavy at this point. I know some of you like to trade a lot. Some of you like to trade momentum. I am not a momentum trader. I am definitely all about defining levels. The next level that I defined was down here at 440.52. So with a standing order sitting there, this baby comes down, just about touches my level and misses. So no trade for me. This would have been a good one. This would have been $3, $3 per share. But, coulda, woulda, shoulda, never made anybody any money. For the rest of the day, it's time to rethink where Tesla's going. So, right now I'm going to say this is the way that I would bracket this up right now. And what I'm really looking for is, if it comes down into this 442.50-ish level, that we might get a reversal back up into 443.80. Some opportunity there. I'm looking at the bookmap data as well. 62,800 shares sitting up at 445. So you better believe it's going to wind up getting up into that chunk of the range. I don't see any reason it wouldn't make it there. They are going to try to grab those shares. Those order flow trades, those algos are all about that stuff. We've got an anchored VWAP right above this 442.56 level, and we've got another anchored VWAP, right up around this upper threshold. So that says we've got a really good probability, or possibility anyways, of price sort of ping-ponging back and forth between these two levels and making us a little bit of money going into the afternoon. Be super careful. Today is Friday, and you've got all the the 0 days and all that stuff is definitely a factor. There is a call wall sitting at $450 per share. So you've got 26,625 on the open interest on the call side on Tesla, and that is definitely something that is going to be capable of moving a market. As price gets in there, they're going to try to defend that area, and if they do, that can sometimes get pretty hairy. All right, so that's it. That's my, that's the game plan. That's what I'm thinking right now on Tesla for the rest of the session. If something changes, I'll shoot out an email. But I'm going to lighten up going into the end of the day, as always on a Friday. Right, it's better to sort of step away from the market and let this thing breathe. But if it comes back into those ranges, then we'll look for those trades. Same thing holds for the other guys, for Google, for Meta. Just take a look at those. You can also trade those holders, METU and Giggle and all that stuff, and trade the lower dollar versions of all of these things, TSLL in the case of Tesla. Just bear in mind, you're going to have less in terms of capital required, but you're going to have more in terms of shares that you're going to have to jockey around with to get the same magnitude of a move. All right, you guys have a great rest of your trading day. I hope it's been a good one so far. We are back with our strategy sessions, obviously, and I will see everybody right here starting next week for some live updates each and every day. Look for a text message giving you the schedule for the entire week. Have a great day.